And welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and this is From the Cheap Seats. It's where I sit down with this gentleman and we catch up on what's going on in Livingston Parish athletics. We do apologize to folks. We have been off for a couple of weeks. As you can see, the lighting is a little better in here as we've kind of changed things up a bit. And we're looking forward to bringing you guys shows as we work here in this new atmosphere, I guess you can say. But I'm going to let this gentleman introduce himself. Go ahead, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News. Yes, we have light.
Yes, much more light than we had in here before. It is much nicer. So first and foremost, obviously spring sports have, first pitches have gone out, track meets have started, we even got a little golf. But before we do that, let's wrap up our winter sports. And I know we always thought, it took us forever to wrap up the fall, but I think we're going to be able to wrap up the winter sports here pretty quick because we have some finals from the girls' basketball tournament as well as the boys' basketball tournament. So let's cover those real quick before we move into the spring.
Yeah, we'll jump to that real quick. In the girls' basketball tournament, Albany finishes the runner-up there in their in Division II non-select. Had just a tough shooting night in their game. They were able to win against Bruley in the semis there in Hammond to get there, and then in the 5A, it's Ponchatoula got a win over Walker there to advance. That was a rematch from their semifinal the previous year, and Ponchatoula gets the win there. They go on to the final, and they got beat in the final there. So that's putting a bow on, just a tough night for Albany shooting in that championship game there against Wassman. But it's just one of those things where you've got had a nice mixture of speed and size there that kind of got to them there. But you get to this point, and you're always shooting for that state championship, and that's 2 years in a row. I think I said it whenever the Walker boys punched their ticket to get to the tournament. If you're paying attention, that's all four teams that played in the championships at the parish tournament back in December. All four made the playoffs or the state tournament this year.
And that's a pretty big testament to seeding, as the coaches meet before the tournament and kind of go over seeding and things like that. They clearly knew how to pick them. It's interesting that it all played out that way.
It just hit me. They're fixing to cut down the net there at Walk, and I went, wait a minute, that's it. And I was getting a text from French Settlement saying they won, and I told Coach Skiro, it was like all four teams that made the championship game are on to the state tournament, which is I don't know when the last time that's happened, but it's you want to say it's a pretty good year when you can make that happen.
Sure. So let's move over to the boys' side because, as mentioned, we've been off for a couple of weeks, so we haven't checked in on them. But their season, as you so aptly put it, now has a bow on it as well.
Yeah, we'll start off with the Division I non-select. Walker had gotten back to the state tournament. I believe that was the sixth time in a row that they've been. They wound up losing to New Iberia. If you see the game, Walker likes to kind of run and gun. New Iberia comes out and half courts them, slows them down a little bit, and they wind up going to overtime. New Iberia doesn't take the lead until they hit a couple of free throws with about 1:10, I believe, left in overtime, and they wind up going. If I remember correctly, it was 9 for 12 in overtime. All of their points come at the free throw line. They wind up holding the ball when they won the tip off going in overtime, and they just kind of held the ball. Did not go into motion until there was about about 1:25 left in the overtime session, and then kind of from there it turned into the free throws. Walker had a couple. Their better players or starters, I should say, foul out, which kind of made it tough on them in that situation. And like I said, but it's one of those deals where those guys just get used to being there. And I think as long as I've worked here, they've made it to the state tournament. So that's another accomplishment for them. Of course, they'll be shooting for that next year.
Sure. And then on the other side, one last game would be, I believe, Winfield and French Settlement.
That is correct. French Settlement is that made it for the tournament or state tournament first time since 1966. So that's it's it was pretty cool. Some of the guys who were playing on the team now making post on social media is like, hey, this my grandpa was on that team, which is a pretty cool deal. For them, they get down. They are trailing Winfield with just a few seconds left. They're down by 3, trying to work around and get a shot off there. And Winfield came up with a steal really late for a layup, and they wind up losing by 57-52 in that game. It's for Jake Bourgeois. That was the first, I believe, his first freshman class that's come all the way through there. So he's kind of seen these guys from the beginning to now. So it's been a process for them to get there, and again, a heck of a season for them to get there too.
Sure. So congratulations to those teams. You always, it's always rough because it didn't end the way they wanted it to, but it still takes a lot of work to go that far.
I think at the end of the deal, when we were talking to Corey Arnold, the Walker girls coach, in his post game presser after their loss to Ponchatoula, he's like, people don't understand what it takes to get here. It's one thing to make the playoffs, but to get to the state tournament and to be able to be successful as you are over the course of a year, just people don't understand. They just kind of look at the bracket and go, oh yeah, you're there, and he said it doesn't work that way. So that's part of the process that I don't think many people get. There's a lot that goes into that.
Sure. So that puts a bow on the winter sports. I'm gonna overuse that. I know that. So it was a good statement.
It makes sense though. It makes sense.
So let's get into the spring sports real quick, and let's start with softball because you covered a pretty good game last night between the Walker girls and the Live Oak girls. Live Oak, of course, I believe was coming into that game undefeated.
That's correct. I believe, if I remember correctly, they're 17-0 going in, playing really good ball. Walker gets out to a 6-0 lead, and then Live Oak gets a couple of home runs, and I'm taking notes here. But Casey Bennett and A.K. Phillips hit home runs. They get back to 6-6, and then in the bottom of the sixth, Caitlin Richey from Walker hits a 2-run home run. They wind up winning. Walker winds up winning 8-6. That Richey had 2 home runs. She had one in the first inning that went to center field. Haley Cushingberry from Live Oak is back there playing center field. She went up to get it, and it went off her glove and over the wall. So it gave Walker a 1-0 lead real quick. But it was just a really good game, and it's gotten to the point where when those two teams play, you're talking to the coaches, that the players they've either, played with each other on different teams or summer teams, but they just know each other. The parents know each other. Coach Westmoreland just said it's just good softball when they play, and that's what you saw yesterday.
Sure. I saw your recap, and I was watching it on Twitter as you were, and it just seemed like back and forth. So looked like a pretty good game. Let's get into, excuse me, some of the other. I think you've got some roundups here of baseball and softball.
I went through, and so if you see me, I'm reading off a notepad here just to give an idea of what happened. Denham Springs and East Ascension played. Looks like EA won that one, if I'm correct. And then French Settlement Springfield played. I think they both went in undefeated starting district, if I remember correctly. And French Settlement wins that one 18-9. I think that's all I've got for the softball there. So I'm pretty sure somebody else played, but I don't think I have that one with me. But I'll have to go look on that. Baseball wise, we had a couple of parish matchups last night. Denham Springs beat Springfield 10-0. Caleb Howell and Matthew Lewis from Denham combined on a 2-hitter there. Then Walker beats French Settlement 10-0. Matt Griffin had a 2-hitter there with 6 strikeouts. Then St. John beat Holden 15-0. Live Oak beat Destrehan 6-5. Live Oak got 3 in the 6th there, and then Destrehan scored 2 in the 7th. And then Doyle beats Port Allen 12-1. Maddox Newsom and Parker Taylor throw a 3-hitter in that one. Still got to put these games together. I haven't posted those roundups yet. This is just the basic info, but as you guys know, just be patient because it's happening. It just takes me a while to get it going and get it posted, but keep paying attention and it'll eventually get there.
Sure. So, last but certainly not least, before we get out of here, I did see that Denham Springs has officially hosted their first ever track meet.
That's correct. That's correct. If you go through and that it was a couple weeks ago, but it was really neat to watch Coach Andy McLean's post during that week leading up to it. It's a picture of the what's happening, and it sounds like it's not really a big deal, but the hurdles, the stacks of hurdles, and it's and everything coming together. You see the pits going up and everything, and it's just one of those things that if you talk to Coach McLean when he first took that job a couple years ago, that was one of the first things he said. He's like, we're a 5A school. There's no reason we should not have a track here, and so it's kind of been his baby. So he's I know he's excited. The track is purple too, so if you guys get a chance to go out and see it, it definitely stands out. And at that point, it's well deserved for the school, and it's good for these kids to get out there and be able to do some things on it. If I'm not mistaken, the parish meet will be there in a couple weeks too, so we will be out there.
Purple track, very Boise State. Well, thank you, sir. It's good to get back in here.
Sure.
There's still going to be a few more changes, but for right now, for those of you watching, this is about what it's going to look like. And if you're listening, well, there's no difference at all. So thank you, sir, for joining us. If you introduce yourself.
Yeah, we appreciate it. This is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys out there for joining us for the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show. This is From the Cheap Seats. It's where I talk with Rob about all things athletics going on in Livingston Parish. Please remember the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.